Hi, welcome to 2020 Tasty Treats with GourmetQuilter. I'm Susan Clare, GourmetQuilter, and we're having a whole lot of fun working out how to use our fabric leftovers and our leftovers pantry. So we've been setting up a leftovers pantry. We've got, well, I've got a set of drawers. You might have boxes, bins, bags, or drawers, or I don't know, you might have a whole different system going on. I've labelled all my drawers. I've got strips, squares and rectangles in my drawers that we went through in the earlier part. So this is a 20-part series, and there's a pattern type download that comes each day with the 20 days that we're doing a video and a pattern each time. So we're actually up to part 13 of our 20, so we're doing pretty well. So back in an earlier part, in part 7 of the Leftovers Pantry, we were making some units, and we had some fun making some units using some rectangles. So now we're going to have a little bit more fun because we're going to use some of those units and the rectangles. So just to get started, I thought one thing we can do is something super simple, and there's a few ideas in the notes this time for things, and the first idea I've suggested is really just stacking rectangles. So pretty much any size you like would work. Even they could even vary in actual width of the rectangles, although perhaps the length would be quite good if they were all the same, so that you could do them in strips, so that we can make a quilt really of just stacked rectangles, and perhaps with a little sashing in between. And they can be all random because we're using leftovers, so we don't necessarily all have all the same colours. So here's just a small quilt that I've made doing exactly that. So I've just got some rectangles and I've sashed in between, and I thought that was kind of fun way to use up some rectangular leftovers. Here's another one that's using smaller rectangles, but the same concept of stacks of rectangles. And I thought, so that's one way of using some rectangles as we go. So then another way, we made some particular units, and we made some little two-piece units, something like this. And there's a couple of suggestions of ways that they could be used, and we can have a whole lot of fun with them, just topping and tailing them. If you just alternate them, you can have all sorts of different colorways going. You can do random colors. I can show you. Look at this. There's one here that I've got showing, which, according to this piece of paper here, it looks like it's zigzagging down the quilt, and that's exactly what would happen if you used just sort of two colours, or light and dark, so that you get this whole zigzaggy effect going down. So we've got the little unit here, and then it alternates direction so that you end up with that sort of look. And I think that's kind of fun. You can turn the units even more, and you end up with this kind of almost like a little pinwheely thing that can happen on the quilt there. And so this would be the next idea that I've got showing here, with a little two-piece unit, which was unit 3A. And so apart from that, there's other things you can do with just some rectangles of two colours. Very simple. Even the border here is just rectangles. Here's some more random type colours put together of our units, of our rectangles. And this one here is a more random, again, with the two-part unit there, just turned every which way, and I've just dropped my notes. And then we had our little three-part unit, unit 3B that we called it. And so something like that, I've got them in the larger size here. Again, it can be quite random and alternating the direction, or you could have them a little bit more organised, like I have in this small quilt, which again would give you that little stepping arrangement like in the two-part one, but we've got a third colour, so you can end up with two different colours forming that, and then this middle colour is just kind of a rectangle that changes direction. So that's kind of a fun little thing to do with the three-part units. Now another thing you can do with the three-part unit would be something like a two-colour type thing, and I've got something sitting up here where I just can put it with some squares as well. So squares of the same size as the unit that makes up here, and you can kind of just continue on. So from here we would continue on adding another one here, and so it would just sort of continue on, and maybe a third colour or a darker colour like I've put in there, So basically yellows and greys that I've got there. If you've got a whole lot of 2 colours of something, that could work for you. So much fun to be had. You can really have a really good play with some of these little bits and pieces. There's no particular rules about it all. That's the beauty of all these sort of things. And when we're using leftovers, there can't be rules because we don't have all the same fabric. How fun is that? And then we made a Unit 3C which had 4 parts to it. So again, just alternating the direction with different random colours. And you can go on making them as big as you want. You can have 5 parts and all those sorts of things. So I think that's a great way of just using up some rectangles, because we often have leftover parts of strips and things that we can cut into rectangles. And we've got all these other ideas and things that we can do here. So, and then there's another thought, that if you've got a whole lot of rectangles the same sort of size, that are basically twice as long as they are wide, plus the seam allowances. So you've got to know that measurement before you add your seam allowances. And so this one here just works really well. I've just used 2 colours because I found I had a whole lot of blues and greens. And so I've just got, it's all the same size rectangle. And I've just put them together in rounds of colour, and then I've alternated. So in the notes, that would be probably this one up here. So we've got, basically it's the 2 blocks, but it's the same block, just swapping the colours. So I've started with the green, then I've gone blue, then I've gone green. Here I've started with the blue, gone green and gone blue again. And alternating all over a quilt, that would be kind of quite exciting. Again, I've suggested 2 colours, but it doesn't have to be 2 colours. But if you have a whole lot of 2 colours, these are some ideas that you might be able to do with them. So that was just some ideas using some of our rectangle units and just rectangles, and ways that we can really make our leftovers pantry really work for us, because I think it's so much fun to have leftovers because they're so delicious, and we all know that we just love leftovers. They're always nicer the next day, aren't they? I think leftover fabrics are just about the same. We can make something out of it because we've made what we wanted to make first time round. Then we can really enjoy those little bits of flavour that come through into the next project. So enjoy those leftovers. That was some ideas to use our unit number 3, and I will see you again with From the Leftovers Pantry number 14.